Hey guys, welcome to another episode of your East Coast Rams podcast. I am your host, Ashton, here with my awesome, fabulous co-host, Zach. How you doing?
Puka! What to say
Oh,
about that? Puka Nakua came in clutch at the end.
very, very clutch. Looking forward to breaking down this game, breaking down our game against the Eagles. Some news on that front. So, Zach, let's kind of get into the news.
Yeah, so we got confirmation today that Sean McVay is activating Cooper Kupp in the 21-day activation window from IR. So the soonest he can play is going to be this week against the Eagles. Along with that, are one of the outside linebacker, Okwon Mathis, will also be in that 21-day activation window as well. So good news there. We'll talk a little bit about the game itself. During the Colts game, Stafford, hurt his hip. All signs, especially Sean McVay, says that he doesn't foresee him missing this week's game due to it, nor should he be limited really during practice. Some other banged up players. Kyron Williams also has a hip issue. Tyler Higbee with some jammed thumb, but nothing that should sideline anyone for this week.
Yeah, some good news about Cooper Cup. Hopefully everything goes smooth with practice, no re-aggravations, no re-injuries. And we'll see Cup and Puka hopefully on the same field this upcoming week, which we will talk about near the end of the pod. Just before we get into our trip, both me and you were there at the game. Just want you guys, if you can go ahead on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, tell us your opinions on the Colts game. Tell us what the Rams did good, what the Rams did bad, how much of a heart attack everyone almost had. We definitely want to hear about it. It helps kind of get us out into the YouTube ether a little bit more. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a comment if you do like our content.
Yes.
All right, Zach.
YouTube.com/@EastCoastRams. Plugging in the URL.
Yep. And you can find us on all the social medias at East Coast Rams. Zach, let's talk about the trip first. I traveled from Virginia. You live in Indiana. You live in Indianapolis. So that was kind of your local area. I came and visited you first time we got to meet in person. And it was a lot of fun. How'd everything go for you? And I know you got to take your daughter to the game and do a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean it was a great weekend. It was gorgeous weather. Couldn't have had any perfect weather. I think you got some slides that you might want to also throw up too while we kind of talk about this. But it was a great environment. The Ram family really showed out this weekend.
A lot
We
of
saw
fans.
so many fans there at the game, and it was just cool. And you see some photos. It was crazy. Like, when I picked you up from the airport, we kind of you came by my house for a little bit, then we went and we just kind of walked around, and we went to Lucas Oil Stadium just to kind of see the stadium, and we run into the first Ram fan that we actually saw was the Canadian Rambassador.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. Um, it's just so cool to meet all these people. John is his name. I had to remember that. John, the Canadian Rambassador. So that was really cool. Yeah, how did you enjoy it? Before we start talking to other things, like, this is your first time in Indianapolis. What did you think?
I love the city, man. It was just so much fun. It was nice meeting up with Dak, uh, meeting the ambassador, running into a few famous people. That was also cool. Sunday morning when I was walking, I just so happened to walk where the Rams were staying, and they were leaving to their buses. So I got a few cool pictures. of players up close and stuff like that. Felt a little weird. They just, it's early in the morning. They just want to get on the bus, and people were yelling at them, and I was just like, ah, cool. I get to see you up close. It was just all around great food, great atmosphere. I definitely recommend if people ever get a chance to go to Indianapolis. Fantastic city. I couldn't complain about a single thing. And it doesn't hurt that the weather, like you said, was very optimal. Shorts, wearing a jersey, just felt fantastic out there.
And one of the cool things about Indianapolis and why, a lot of places choose to come here for conventions is everything is so close. The stadium's close to downtown, walking distance from a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels. The convention center's downtown. So like everything is so close together. It just makes things easier. It makes it easier for you to be able to see where the players are staying and be able to see them get on their bus. You see photos. We actually ran into DeMarco Farr, um, just walking on the street. We were walking back. Literally, you were going back to your hotel room. I was heading out for the
Yeah,
night, and we just saw him on the street with a crew. And we were able to just say hi, chat with him for a minute, and take a photo. And it was really cool. Um,
very surreal.
Very surreal. And like I said, the Rams fans showed up.
Oh,
I was
so
act I flew. I was actually in Virginia. Surprisingly, we didn't even see each other there, but I was actually in Virginia when I flew back. I ran into a member of the RWO, the Rams Worldwide Order, and super welcoming, and was like, "Hey, find us," and we did. We ran into them at a place called Kilroy's, and there's a picture of them right there. And Yeah, it was just a welcoming group. The Ram fans showed up. It's just an experience like none other. Like I said, I've been to a Colts game before, a Colts Rams game, but we're building this community. And it's just so cool to be able to run into people that we only know from the
mhm.
podcast or from on Twitter or X, whatever you would call it. Um, but it's just that cool, unique thing that we get to do. And like you said, we met Dakota Dak here on X, and then David. He was the member from the RWO that I knew from the airport, and it was just really cool. The fan base was awesome. We were pretty close to a lot of Rams fans where we sat. And even the Colts fans, they were nice. They,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
very good.
when I was at the Bengals, it was kind of like they were nice too, but like when the flags went out, like they were up in arms, like yelling at all the refs and blah blah blah. But it was a good atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere, and I couldn't have been happier with the outcome of it. Obviously,
Yeah, I also want to say I've been to three away games for the Rams, and this was the most fans I've seen at an away game by far. We
yeah,
really kind of showed out, and I think sometimes that does help the team when they do hear a little bit of like juice from the crowd at a away game very clearly, and you know, uh, the game itself was a roller coaster, and being there, sometimes when we had great seats, so we were able to see a lot of the players. It was kind of hard for us to see certain plays, especially because all the touchdown drives happened to be on the
that's the
other
opposite.
side of the field.
Yep.
Uh, but for the most part, definitely unique experience. I would recommend anyone when you get a chance, if you can afford it, go see a game. It's worth doing it every so often. And
Yeah.
it's nice to see other fans and that energy and that experience. Uh, you can't do that at home. It's a different viewing experience, and definitely had a lot of fun. It was awesome to meet you too, and meet your family, and seeing the city.
Yeah, it was like I said, it's a lifetime this was a lifetime experience even for us who live here every day. As you see there, my daughter we actually got on-field passes. Me and my daughter did, and she was able to meet Weatherspoon and got his autograph. We met Coach Sheila, or he was down there on the field, so that was cool. There's a photo going on that we got to meet JB Long and Stu Jackson. That was awesome. I kind of was joking with them on Twitter. I was like, sometimes I'm more excited to see you guys than some of the players, just because I listen to them and I read their content all the time. And they're there for sometimes longer than most players are there for. So it was really cool to get to meet them. Really cool to be able to get like an on-field experience. And it was just cool. The hospitality there was great. It was just, like I said, it was a cool
Mhm.
experience, and one of those things that you'll never forget.
We definitely will not. Now that kind of segues into the game itself, Zach, and you know what can I say about this game? It had all the emotions. The home crowd by the end of the second half. Let's say they were not happy. They were starting to boo the Colts. And let's give credit to this defense. They were fantastic, causing a fumble, um, doing all the things right. A lot of three and outs, playing a field position. We got a little lucky. They missed a field goal near the end of the first half. Offense was able to get 2 touchdowns back to back drives. First time this year that we've been able to start off a game with 14 points. Very big stuff there. Running the ball more consistently and producing more production while running the ball. Having more than one running back running the ball was a very big key that we talked about. And Puka was able to produce, not even in overtime, just in normal time, was able to produce even while being double covered. Um, a lot of good stuff. It's a tale of two halves. What's your reaction about the Rams' performance in the game itself?
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, they definitely deserve. I would give them, if I gave them a score, probably a B plus. Obviously, they would have gotten an A if it wasn't for the second half. But the second half, I don't blame the Rams as a whole for it. I don't blame Sean McVay. I don't blame Stafford. If I had to put some pressure on somebody, it's probably going to be Maher. He did cost us 6 points when we have a hurt Stafford. We were just driving the ball the best we could. We put him in decent field position for him to kick. He missed a 46 and a 48. Those should be relatively easy kicks for a kicker, especially in the NFL. But other than that, I think they played really well. The defense can only do so much when they're just consistently back on the
Yeah.
field. And holding them to a shutout in the first half was just extraordinary. I think they kind of blew a couple coverages, especially during the the 2 2-point conversions that the Colts got. But other than that, I think the offense played well, the defense played well. Obviously, I can't say the special teams played great, only because of Maher. But
And
again,
flags
and then
during
hit
the return.
flags, yeah, and flags. But it was overall, it was a great game, and I'm just glad the Rams won. Like you said, it was I mean, shoot, I probably need to go see a heart doctor after this, because it was just, my heart could barely take it
Oh
when it
my
was just
gosh.
getting closer and closer.
We
So,
just kept on looking at each other like, is this really happening right
well, and I
now?
told and I told you, like, right before the half, I was like, we cannot, like, I wanted Matt Gay on the field to kick a field goal, because I was like, we cannot have them score and then they get the ball back on the second half, and then that was going to give them a momentum, and they didn't. Luckily, Matt Gay missed that field goal, and then they ended up, getting the ball back, and I can't remember, maybe it was 3 and out, but they basically let the ball go, and
They got one first down, and I think then went out that drive. Uh,
but yeah, other than that, I think the Rams played a really well game. What about you?
so I I think the biggest problem, and we can talk about defense first. Biggest problem with defense was linebackers covering, especially outside linebackers. they had a lot of open field with the tight ends. I haven't looked at the share of passes, but I want to say majority was to tight ends whenever Richardson was throwing. Um, Now he did improvise some, and some of his magic came from that improvisation, and that was solid to the wide receivers. But their two tight ends were just living in the middle of the field for us the entire day, and our linebackers got to do better. Or if possibly it could have been some of the safeties and cornerbacks not handing off zones correctly.
Hmm.
Hard to tell when we don't know the play call, but got to do better about that. Zach, what's your take on defense, especially in the second half?
Yeah, I was kind of looking at those stats, and you're right. I mean, it was their tight ends. I mean, Ogletree, he had 4 targets for and 3 receptions. Granson, oh no, Ali Cox, he was 1 for 1. And then their other tight end, Granson, that was right. Yeah, Granson was right. He had 5 targets and 2 receptions. So, I mean, they targeted them, seven of the 24 times. Uh, and so that just tells you that that's who they were going with, and we saw that over and over again during the play. But the defensive, like I said, the defense in the first half played lights out. I mean, you couldn't really expect anything better than what they did. Aaron Donald just being the goat that he is, putting that pressure on Richardson. Um, so I thought again, like it's just when you go see it live in person, you just see how big and tough these guys are, and it was just really cool to be able to see that defense play at least in the first half that strong.
Yeah, the run defense, we've been talking about it all year. We've been mentioning it's been weak, it's been weak. And not that Zach Moss is exactly like a world beater, right? He's not like an all pro running back, but he's good. He's a capable back who's been running on other teams. And they did a good job, not great, but good job at containing Zach Moss and the Colts running game. And their line is not terrible. Their D line is not terrible. And I think that's going to be a segue to the offense, Zach. Um, O line that led 6 sacks last week. Oh, only let 2 sacks this week, and one of them was kind of Stafford's fault because he tripped over his own feet.
Yeah.
So really, they only let up 1 sack the entire game. I gotta give credit to Dotson, the starting right guard for this game.
Yeah.
Fantastic job. And no boom, he has not looked good at left tackle in previous games. He looked solid, but he was the weakest link for that O line, in my opinion, this match. And we got to see the left side of the line most of the game.
Yeah.
And it, that's definitely something of a little bit of a concern. Hopefully, Jackson can potentially come back. But I thought Dotson,
I mean,
great, great player.
if you look at the PFF score, he was the highest rated offensive lineman um, for the Rams that this week with 86. So he played lights out. Unfortunately, Joe Newboom did the worst via PFF. Um, with a 44.5. So you definitely can see like it is
Oof.
kind of worrisome. Like, I mean, he has been fine when he was shifted into the guard spot, and has, but left tackle is still that interesting thing. Like, yeah, he can play that role and he can get by for a game or two, but like, I just don't know if that's the long term solution. And so bringing in Jackson back in, it's going to be very interesting what they do. Are they going to, put Dotson back out for a while? Are they going to put Noteboom in? What are they going to do? And it's the contract part of it says, well, you're going to put in Noteboom because you paid him all this money, but like you can't do it just by the contract. Yeah, and I think Sean McVay has said it this whole offseason. Like everyone's fighting for this job, and only the best 5 are going to play. And so I think Dotson has proven himself at least in this game. It's going to be a tougher challenge this next week, but he's definitely proven
Oh,
that
yeah.
he can be that person and be that rock that they're trying to do, especially in this run game that they're trying to get and that they exceeded. I mean, this is the first time Kyron Williams has hit over 100 yards in a game. On top of the fact that we had another running back who actually played, we didn't have this crazy 100% offensive snaps with one running back. We got to see Ronnie Rivers play. And not to take anything from Kyron Williams, because I mean, over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, like he was out there. Like I I could see him take the hits. Like he was there protecting Stafford when he could and making the big blocks. And then even came down to the end, giving Stafford the time to find Puka for that game-winning touchdown. So excellent job. And we haven't even gotten to the receivers of it all with Puka Nacua. But the offensive line played really well. The running backs played really well. Sean McVay did a great job calling this game. I don't care. I know people are mad at him on the second quarter or second half, and we'll talk about that. I want to jump into you real quick. Let's talk about the wide receivers, and then I'll come back and talk about my pet peeve with people and Sean McVay.
Yeah, wide receivers. And we can kind of roll in Higbee here because he was second in reception. Puka Nacua. Me and you, I would say we were more up on him than most fans were. Like, we liked the pick. I thought he was going to be a great gadget guy when I got to see tape because I wasn't aware of him. I watched BYU like 2 years ago, but he wasn't really prominent then, or at least the games I watched. So I wasn't aware of his name. Got to watch some tape on him after we drafted him. I was like, yeah, he seems like he'll fit in well, like as a very good gadget guy, potentially special teamers. I really liked his route running. Again, I liked him, especially for a fifth round guy. I did not think he was going to be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And
No.
anyone who says that outside of his parents, or people who watch BYU, I guess, yeah, I don't believe you. This kid, he is electric to watch. He's the real deal. You could say maybe one game if he did that just one game. Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's a one-hit wonder. He just gets a large target share. But it's like one thing doesn't happen because the other. Stafford doesn't throw to any wide receiver for no reason, right? When Kupp went out, he didn't just volume target Van Jefferson that year.
No.
Like you just can't ignore the fact that he doesn't volume throw to people if they aren't or if they aren't really reaching that potential to receive it. And people like I had a coworker be like, "Oh, he's just doing that because he's getting the target share that Kupp normally gets." I'm like, "Yeah, he's earning that target share. He's making full use of his routes, of the plays he's given, and he keeps on producing. So they keep on giving him opportunities, and he's producing even more."
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
no, I mean,
how,
you see
Zach, how many wide receivers would have caught that first catch?
oh, none. I mean, that would have been a tipped interception for most receivers. I mean, most average. I mean, even elite receivers, that was a hard catch. I mean, I call it the double one-handed catch. And so I don't know. I think that was when you see it on the field, it's so cool. It was just such a cool catch.
Yeah, that was right
And then
in
you go
front of
watch and replay it. Like it's not as cool because I feel like, I'm watching and I'm like, he just tipped that and then caught it with the same hand. Like he prevented it from going farther and then like reeled it back in with the one hand. Like he didn't even get like no most people would like if they do it, they tap it and they get it with one. No, he still caught it and caught it with one hand. So he's just such an impressive player. And you know, it's unfair to say he's Kupp 2.0 because Kupp's Kupp and Puka Nacua should be Puka Nacua, but they're so similar in just how they're able to get out of their tight school, just to be able to get open and be able to catch kind of ridiculous play catches. Um, it's Cooper Clutch. Like, he's always that person who you can guarantee he's going to catch the ball. And yes, Puka has dropped the ball a couple times and missed it, but he doesn't. Most rookies and most players would like they I don't know, they wouldn't go back out there and just like perform in another elite level.
They don't
Um,
bounce back.
they don't, and Puka does, and he always has a smile on his face. He's so much fun. He brings so much energy to this. I kind of felt bad for him because he threw his winning touchdown football into the stands, um, which which is just funny. But like, he's so happy and he's so interested and interesting, and he ran. He was still on the field when Sean McVay was giving his victory speech, and giving him a game ball, and he was running through the locker room from the field as he was saying it. So he's so fun and so much fun to watch, just like Cooper Kupp is. And it's just going to be crazy when those two are on the field at the same time.
I We're potentially looking at like one of the best Rams duos since Holt and Bruce. I really do think he is potentially that special. Like, I don't think other fan bases have really gotten a full like breadth of how special this kid is. He already has 500 yards in the season, and it's not even halfway there.
No.
He is on pace, if he were to continue, to break the single season receiving record. Now, of course, so is Justin Jefferson, which is the only wide receiver ahead of him. Uh, but if you're being compared to Justin Jefferson in your rookie year and to those guys, and of course it's probably not going to maintain that pace, you're pretty good. And you mix him with Kupp, and he's going to get even more open, or Kupp's going to be open. Like, you can't double cover both. And you put them both on the same side, like, good luck trying to read those route trees. Good luck trying to predict what cuts each of them, because they're both so good at deceiving the cornerback with their eyes, with their stance, with their
Yeah.
technique, how they move.
Yeah.
And he's just learning all that from Kupp. And that's why, like, I believe he's merging some of his game with what Kupp is teaching him. And that's why, like, people kind of think of him as like a mini Kupp. I'm like, yes and no. He has his own nuances to his game, but like both of them, I think will be able to feed off of each other, and it's gonna. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Hopefully, Cup is healthy, and it's gonna be something to watch.
Yeah, I mean, when you have them both out there, obviously both of them aren't going to have 9 catches for 160 something yards every game. Like, that's just not realistic to think about. Someone's going to have the better game of the two, and maybe it actually bounces, and maybe it gives Tutu Atwell or Van Jefferson more of a play potentially, because they're going to want to focus more on Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, on those defenses. So maybe we'll see a resurgence of Van Jefferson, or kind of coming back from Tutu Atwell over the last couple of weeks. But you just look at Puka Nacua. I mean, 39 receptions, 501 yards, in 4 weeks of his rookie season. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, and it's happening to him. So definitely big congratulations to him. Did you see the kind of the weird thing about this Rams Colts game versus the last Rams Colts game? That both,
Yeah, the identical stats between him and Cup,
yeah, him
outside
and
of two
Kupp,
touchdowns.
yeah, him and Puka, Kupp and Puka had 9 catches for 163 yards, and you know, 2 years ago this was Cooper Kupp. But it's crazy. It's just kind of like a chill feeling, like eerie sense. And then the Rams went off to win the Super Bowl. So there's that to look forward to.
Yeah. Your annoying thing about Sean McVay commenters
Yeah,
on the
I
media,
I think there was a
social
lot
media.
of people. Yeah, I think there was a lot of people kind of down on them, that oh, it's Sean McVay. being conservative. What is he doing going, running the ball at, you know, what was it, third and 20 or something like that. I was like, well, number one, I mean, they're trying to get into some sort of good field goal range for Maher. And they're trying their best to get that close. And I know we don't have the best kicker in the world, but at the same time, you don't want to risk putting yourself in a deeper hole or not even trying to get a field goal attempt there. Plus, you're also trying to run the clock. You're up 23-0, and you're in the middle of the third quarter. And I mean, it wasn't until I don't know 7 minutes left of the third quarter before the Colts even scored. So he's trying to milk the clock the best he can without trying to throw an interception or cause a fumble or something like that. So yeah, Sean McVay is going to be kind of conservative when you have a 23-point lead, especially knowing that Stafford was injured in the second quarter. And I didn't really notice it until the third quarter, but when your quarterback's injured, you're going to be a little conservative on what you do. And unfortunately, things just started to ravel, but they kept running the ball. I think that was the thing that everyone kept asking Sean McVay to do from the last game is just run the ball, make sure that you're keeping them honest. And he finally did that. And then to come back and say, why are you running the ball? Well, that's a double standard. And you guys got to, I don't know, I'm a very hot take on this, but you guys got to give him something. Like he's dealing with an injured Stafford. They're up 23-0. I know that they started, decreasing that a bit, but come on, this game was in their hands for most of the game. So I thought Sean McVay played a really well hand of what he could. So I think it's stupid. That's my rant. But I think let's just end the game or end this with Matthew Stafford, 40 attempts, 27 completions, 319 yards. He did get that one interception, and he was sacked twice for a loss of 16 yards. The biggest one was he kind of fell on himself, and that was right in front of us too, literally right in front of
Yeah.
us, and did not look good. Um, and his PFF score was 72.6. I did want to talk about rushing real quick. So we had Kyron Williams, 25 attempts, 103 yards. Ronnie Rivers, 9 attempts, 47 yards. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with 36 rushing attempts and 40 passing attempts. That's a 50-50 split, and most of the time that's going to win you a football game.
As long as one side or both sides are producing somewhat, it does definitely help.
Hey,
Uh,
164 yards rushing. That's for the Rams. For the Rams rushing, that's elite
yeah,
coming from years past. I mean, that's pretty elite when it comes to that. But like I said, our defense pretty much helped us secure that win. Well, I mean, again, they helped us secure that win. Obviously, the first touchdown was their fault. The second touchdown, they were put into a bad spot because of the Stafford interception. But again, they played really well. Richardson only had 11 completions for 200 yards.
yeah, we had a fumble called back also, which didn't help.
No.
Uh, I think that was holding, defensive holding. So maybe people watching the broadcast will know more, like if that was good or not. But I thought the refs, for the most part, were fine in this game. Um, I always get a little irritated when they call like pass interference when it should have been holding because it wasn't catchable. But for the most part, they were better than last two games. Definitely a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, as far as penalties goes, it looks like it was about even. Rams had 8 penalties for 85 yards. Colts had 8 penalties for 80 yards. So for the most part, it was pretty square
Yeah.
as far as that goes. But Maher, he's going to be on the warning list for sure. 3 for 5. He did get us a 54 and a 51 as of two of those, but missing a 43 and a 48. That's something that needs to be cleaned up, definitely. So, let me see. I was trying to see if I had anything else notes in my thing, but I don't think so. The O line played 100% of the snaps. They didn't have to change anybody out, so yay.
Excellent. And you could tell when we have the same O line, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You want to go ahead and pivot to next week?
let's do it. So next week, week 5, we're back at home in SoFi Stadium against the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, with Hurts
Ooh.
leading the pack. So this will be the second. So we will have faced both undefeated teams going through week 5, left in the NFL, with the 49ers also on that undefeated list. Both of them coming in from the NFC. So interesting. What are your thoughts about this? Do you think the Rams have a chance at this victory?
I mean, yeah, we've been in every game very easily. I would argue that we definitely should have won the 49ers game. And the Bengals game was kind of like a lot of a lot of bad luck, a lot of bad calls, and then mixed with some shooting ourselves in the foot while the refs were shooting our other foot. Like that's why we lost against the Bengals. So like we can beat the Eagles. Now the Eagles are such a good team, you can't shoot yourself in the foot. Can't do any of that. If
Yep.
we do that, if we have where we do have legitimate problems with the O line jumping off or getting penalties, if we have offside stuff like that and shoot ourselves in foot and get ourselves in second and long and stuff like that, we're not going to have a fun day. It's
No.
This is a team that if you make a mistake, they will capitalize on it and they will beat you into the ground. And I think everything on both sides, they have to execute and they have to start off hot. And if you get behind on this Eagles team, they will run it into the ground. And you gotta force Hurts to throw. That's when he struggles. And
Yep.
I I think with such a good O line like this Eagles line, it I would almost say you want to start off with the ball, you want to get a touchdown, and have them play from behind the entire game, preferably. Kind of like what the Bengals did to us. We want to be even to leading the entire game because if you get behind, just with how young our team is, I don't know if they can really be able to claw themselves out of a hole with a team that is ball control like the Eagles.
Yeah, so let's kind of break down some of the stats a little bit. So as far as if you compare the quarterbacks go, you have Jalen Hurts, who's 88 for 130, 959 yards, 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Stafford is 103 for 166, 1,229 yards, 3 TDs and 5 interceptions. So we definitely know what the difference between this team, the Rams team is definitely more pass heavy, and the Philadelphia Eagles are a lot more run heavy. Between
Mhm.
having Jalen Hurts and then also having DeAndre Swift, that's where their power is going to be at, and that's what the Rams have to stop. And the problem is that the Rams are really bad at stopping the run. We saw that with the Colts game. I'm not sure why the Colts didn't run it more because they were more successful running the ball than they were throwing the ball. But it this kind of gave us this Colts game did give us a little bit of insight on how we can try to contain Hurts, and kind of try to contain the run game a little bit. This was the test because that's what the Colts are kind of doing right now. They are a more of a they should be at least more of a run style offense than they are a pass style offense. So this was our test. We passed the test just barely. We did, but passed the test that we could be elites and we could slow down this Philadelphia Eagles team. Rushing, DeAndre Swift has 59 carries, 364 yards, 2 touchdowns. To Kyron Williams, 64 carries, but only 245 downs. But he does have 5 of our touchdowns. So we're really good at punching it in the nose in the red zone. So that's good. And then no one could touch Puka Nakua, not even A.J. Brown, with 29 receptions, 414 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Mm.
So that was kind of a quick synopsis of that.
Well, they also have Devontae Smith, which is kind of what, like, if you're a Rams fan, that's what you want Tutu to kind of become, that kind of quick, agile, potentially maybe slot guy if they ever want to move Kupp outside.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, really awesome weapons. Dallas Goedert, monster of a tight end. He's gonna give us. You're gonna have problems everywhere, and I think the defense. This is a game that you want to ask them to keep the Eagles down below like 24 points. That's a win. Or 20, even 27. The offense, if we're gonna win, we have to score 30. Uh, I would be very shocked, Zach, if we end up beating the Eagles lower than 30 points.
Yeah, I mean,
But
but
this is a test.
it is
It's a
a test.
test.
But let's look at their schedule. So the Eagles they beat the Patriots week 1, 25-20. The
Not
Patriots.
looking great.
But you know, they
The
only lost
Patriots aren't
they only
looking great.
right, but the Patriots were able to put 20 points on them and hold them to 25 points. Then you have
Yeah.
the Vikings next. They won 34-28. Still a one-score game. Buccaneers 25-11. That was the outliner that they scored a lot more points than the other team. But then yesterday or this past weekend's game against the Washington Commanders, 34-31.
They were losing that game for majority of it too, I think.
They were. I think it was a defensive. I think they got a defensive touchdown that helped boost them back up, either to even or to exceed even. So, I mean, I always say this. This is probably my mantra on every week's podcast. But every team is beatable. That includes when the Bengals had an injured, Burrow. The Rams are always beatable. Every team is beatable. You just got to find their weakness and be able to not show off your weakness. So I think the Rams do have a good chance at this game. It's just, it's going to come down to, is McVay going to continue to run the ball, or are we going to be successful in running the ball? Will we have Cooper Kupp back? Will that kind of help, spread the wealth a little bit and spread the defenders out so that we can make bigger plays and get down the field faster and control the clock more.
Yeah, and I think potentially out of their schedule, if you look at it, like, we probably have the best receiving core. Like Commanders, yeah, you have Debo Samuel, or not Debo Samuel, sorry, Curtis Samuel. You have like Curtis Samuel, you have Scary Terry. Like, Terry's really good, but like no one else has like jumped up to a high caliber like Tutu and Puka have. The Vikings, like, Osborne is okay. He kind of gives me a lot of Jefferson vibes. Of course, you have Justin Jefferson, but that's one person, him and TJ Hawkinson. But I think between having Higbee, Tutu, Puka, and Kupp, like, best wide receiver, like best catching core the Eagles have gone against uh, all year. In Darius Slay and company, they're going to have a lot to kind of cover this week. So the big thing will be, can the line stop that monster defensive front of the Eagles? They have a lot of youth on that front that hasn't really gelled, and you kind of seen that throughout uh, these first few games for the Eagles. So hopefully it doesn't happen during our game, and our line can keep Stafford relatively clean, because, like you said, Zach, anything can happen, and Stafford in a clean pocket, he's dicing up defenses, man, dicing them up, and he has the tools to do it.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about how tough Stafford is. I mean, that guy plays through everything, and he last. I mean, you know me, I was when we were at the Colts game, I kept saying they need to pull him out. Like he just didn't look good. He looked like he was barely hanging in there. And, I mean, honestly, we didn't know what kind of injury it was. We were assuming
No,
some sort of leg, foot,
I thought leg because
ankle.
I saw him openly limping.
Yeah, and so apparently it was a hip, and that must have hurt. Like, geez Louise. But that dude is tough. His team knows he's tough. Uh, this team wants to play for that guy, and that's why I see this team doing well this year is because this is a we not me team, and it Matthew Stafford shows it, all Puka shows it, Cooper Kupp has shown it, Kyron Williams for sure has shown it. Going through I mean, not saying that he's gone through diversity, but at the same time, like he's had to be in this weird kind of quasi relationship thing with Cam Akers for 2 years, and then having to pick up the pieces from when that fallout eventually happened. Um, so again, mentally tough team this team is, and I think that they can go up against the best. And if you can hang with 49ers, if you can hang with the Bengals, if you can beat the Seahawks, and then you can come in and beat the Colts. I mean, that was definitely a tougher 4 weeks. I mean, even though yes, Bengals were kind of beat up, but I mean, realistically, this was a tougher 4 weeks than the Eagles have had in 4 weeks.
Yeah, and if the Rams can get a win against the Eagles, we're starting 3 stretch of home games. If we can get this win, I really do think that this team announcing to the NFL, we're contenders this year. We are for real. They have to go out there and, like we said, execute. It's not going to be an easy game. But we'll see what they got, and if it's a close game, even then, I think, like you said, they're not going to be easy out for any team, and hopefully we can get that win and go to 3-2, and I think we can start a run because our games can't really get much harder, Zach, from this stretch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I know you love predictions. Do you want to give a prediction? Give our East Coast
Uh,
Rams prediction.
27-24 Eagles.
Okay. Well, you have it. I'm gonna say the Rams win, but I say that every week, so you can trust me or not. That's just how That's how my podcast goes, or this is how our podcast goes. I get to make my own decisions, and I'm gonna say the Rams win. Yeah, so I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of the East Coast Rams podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to us. Obviously, you can find us at our Twitter handles or X handles, whatever you want to call it, here below. You can find us on Threads. You can find us on Instagram. Doing a lot more on Instagram too, so please follow us there. All of our stuff can be found at eastcoastrams.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, wherever you want to listen to your audio podcasts. And then please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/at East Coast Rams. We're growing a great community here. Getting to meet all of you guys at these Rams games is just awesome. Putting faces and, just randomly walking into people on the street is just so cool. And what a great experience this has been, and just this podcast is just growing just because we're growing the community of Rams fans. So I'm pretty ecstatic about that. Ashton, anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, just a quick thanks to everyone we did get to meet. We talked to. Sorry if we didn't name you. A lot of fun, guys. I'm looking forward to potentially going to the Ravens game later this year. Last 2 years ago, when I went there, it was a lot of fun. Definitely recommend if you're in the DC area, try to go out and support the Rams there, and hopefully it's for a playoff push, Zach.
Yes, let's hope so. Or maybe we've already secured the playoff. So that would be cool too. Yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for this week. Let's hope that we get a Rams victory at home in SoFi Stadium against the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. And yeah, whose house? Rams house.